Good. Well, we did bring up last week about
Yes, you did.
Unsolved Mysteries with regards to the episode relating to the UFO sighting in
Which are actually, sorry to interrupt, but watching we discussed before this, I watched a different UFO show, but they're not called UFOs anymore. They're called something else, aren't they? Is it UAP or what's the... Oh, God. This is rubbish listening because I can't even remember what the thing's called. Yeah, it's got they've got a different name. But anyway, I'll find that out while you're
well, obviously,
talking.
when Mark, you asked me and others to watch said show, I did, and my views on it were different to yours. Me and Matt talked about it last week. Matt, kind of, you was in the same fault as mine with regards to them potentially being stone cold liars. Mark,
That's the extreme definition.
Mark, you have got a right to reply. So tell us your thoughts.
I think it was the sort of implication that I was sort of a X-Files watching sort of basement dweller that was sort of like, oh, as you heard about the aliens, that is definitely real. Which that wasn't my point. My point
we
was...
can hear your tinfoil rustling over the mic.
Yeah, well, exactly. And my keep watching the skies, I want to believe posters. My point was that I when Matt said that he didn't believe in that UFOs had visited Earth, I'm the same. I don't, that seems highly improbable. But my point was that these people have had this experience, and apart from them being stone cold liars, rolling in millions of pounds of Netflix money, I was thinking, well, so you say sort of, if that's not the case, let's just say they're saying the truth. They might, but they've experienced something and they believe they're telling the truth. So, there are lots of examples of sort of mass delusions and, weird phenomena happening that is not aliens. And my point was not, oh, this is definitely aliens. It was more that if that probably isn't aliens, what could it have been? And then you were talking about your example, which again was true, about when people see things and they don't know what it is, that they can have their gaps filled. Oh, did you know that light in the sky was? And you think, oh yeah, it was. And you talk about if you two were in London and you saw a bright light and then you saw on the news it was aliens, you might believe it was aliens. Yeah. But my view would have been, if you were both in London and you saw that bright light and then someone else in Manchester saw that bright light and something weird happened and they lost a bit of time, what would be the reason for that? Not that they were abducted and experimented on and and all things like that, but what could it be? I mean, I know during those sort of times it was very sort of Cold War and lights in the sky and Russians and all that sort of paranoia and things like that, but it was just interesting. It was just interesting to think, if it's not aliens, which it probably isn't, and I don't believe they're lying, what could it be? So I was after intelligent theories, James Steele, and that's not what I got.
Oh God.
Well,
on that bombshell.
There's 2 points. There's 2 points here. There's 2 points I've got here. One, you're right. There's something actually that my sister, Ray, shout out to my sister Kerry. She mentioned something about the Mandela Effect, which I didn't know anything about, but reading further into it is to do with that things that you've seen that you might mistake for other things, or almost convince yourself that you've seen what you thought you saw, if that makes sense. But also something that I think Matt's also spoken to someone else, and I've spoken to someone else about it, and just the fact that if there was life on another planet somewhere that had the same conditions or livable conditions like Earth, which people who are experts in that field have...
I mean, the universe is big, right?
Exactly.
The universe is
big.
Yeah.
I mean, the experts reckon it could be in the hundreds of thousands that there are planets the same as us, or with certainly similar conditions. But the other aspect is that these living forms, if there are that out there, which I am more in agreement with, that there is probably living form outside in the universe, is that they would have needed to have discovered how to travel a way that we haven't even worked out yet. And that's not to say that's impossible, but my point is, if you're looking at the probability of it either being that these people have got together and thought this would be a good story to put in a TV show or to sell, and then someone will pick it up, or the possibility of alien life forms being able to travel, what do they call it? Is it interstellar?
Between.
You know, if they're able to do that, what's the higher chance, them being liars or the other option? And for me,
no, but they're not the only two options.
Well, no, there's not. They're not. But my point was, at the time, that for me was my thoughts on it.
And
whether
just
that's right or wrong.
So the nearest equivalent to us is Proxima Centauri b, is the name of the planet.
Lovely planet.
And that is located approximately 4.2 light years away. So I'm trying.
That's pretty far, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a commute. It's a hell of a commute. But my point is that it's probably not. It's probably not aliens. It's probably not. But if it wasn't that, what could it have been? And that's not me leading someone to say, oh, it's definitely aliens. You know, who knows what? And when I say the American government, again, that sounds mad, but I don't mean it like, oh, they've all got a plan. I'm just saying, who knows what was going on? You know, something happened to those people. Apart from them outright lying, something happened, and I just thought it'd be interesting to know what it was.
Yeah.
So that's my right reply to that.
I was saying to James before we started this, in sort of influence from talking about this last week, I was looking on Amazon Prime, and there was a program specifically about UFOs and so on, which I thought that'd be interesting to watch, leading on from what we was discussing and so on. And what I felt was interesting, linked to what we was talking about last week, actually, Tom DeLong, who we spoke about, is set up or is involved with this group that is trying to. It seems like they're trying to sort of legitimize the whole scene as such, and it's him and it's lots of people that have worked in the military or worked in the Air Force and been on the inside as such of a lot of these things. And they're sort of pooling their resources to investigate what those things actually are. And I think they were one of the people that campaigned. There was a recent thing where they got the US government to admit, basically, not that that's an alien or that's a spaceship as such, on a recording from a fighter jet, I think it was that they admitted it was a UFO, or should I say that I've found the term UAP, which is an unidentified aerial phenomena. So they admitted that we ain't got a clue what this thing is. And it fits into the in this particular program, they were calling them Tic Tacs, because it's the shape is basically a shape for Tic Tac that you see. It's like this white light, and that's a common thing that people have seen or have said they've seen. But I don't know. I just think that part of this sort of stuff, and the weird thing. Sorry, just to add to that, the weird thing that I found, I think I was getting the right sort of interpretation of what these people were saying. The grassroots people that were looking into UFOs, and there was a lady on there who was hosting the show, and they were going around and talking to people that had seen these things, these unexplained things. They sort of frowned a bit upon this group, like the military group as such, because it was almost like, well, almost what have they got to hide as such? There was too much connection to the man, I guess, you know, and it was more, well, they're on the inside. They must have some sort of agenda, whereas we're doing it to get the truth to the people. But yeah, no real point to that. I just thought that was quite an interesting, perspective from the inside. Yeah.
No, there is a point to that because you know, when people sort of can go down that route of wanting to have confirmation bias, right? So the more things they find, they because they want to believe it, and then again, I think you touched on this before, and then that leads into other things because obviously governments have lied in the past. People then that think, oh well, what else are they lying about? And then that's where you get Area 51 and all those kind of things, and the Illuminati and all things like that. You know, so it can sometimes be, you know, you can have a skepticism and an interest, and then it can be the thin end of a wedge where it goes into even more deeper. The 5G master giving you coronavirus sort of feel.
We might touch on that a bit later, maybe.
Oh right.
But just one more point to finish up on this is, Matt, you found another bit of information about the Unsolved Mysteries show, didn't you?
Which did you share?
I haven't actually shared it with Mark, no.
Can just say Mark asked him to share this with you about Thursday last week. So, but on because of the nature of the program and again this sort of like grassroots investigations and so on, the producers of the program on Netflix, one of the two, had a lot of information that they didn't include in the show for whatever reason. They couldn't fit it into the programs they made. So they've made that information available. So if you're so inclined that you want to do your own further investigations on the things that have been discussed, there's I think there's video interviews, there's, you know, extra documentation and all bits and pieces like that. So you can download those, you can have a look through them, and again you could, which I think is a really cool thing, you can then add to what you learned from the program and continue to, you know, make your own judgment as to what you think and you know, whether you can add more to the discussion.
Especially, I think, because a lot of them, are they're murder cases, aren't they? They're missing people cases. So I suppose they actually want people to come up with more information.
It's beneficial, isn't it?
Yeah. The reason why I didn't share it is because after watching it, it does actually confirm that they were aliens. So, so it just ruined my point, really. But
can I just say one more thing on this, because it is a very interesting thing. One of the things in this program I was watching yesterday, which this conversation in a way sort of confirms it to a certain extent, that the investigators were saying that very few people will have come forward for this, you know, so they would justify why only a small group, essentially, of people have discussed a lot of these sightings and things like that, because of the ridicule. And that's what they said is that, you know, there may be people that have seen things, there may have been people that have been concerned or whatever, you know, regarding what they have seen, but because as society it's sort of shunned, that was how they justified. And they said, well, lots of people have seen more, but they fear they're going to be ridiculed, so they're not going to speak out.